It's surprising because I never thought something like this is even possible in India. Gang rapes are happening left, right and center because the system made people believe they could get away with it. I'm trying to change the narrative. The shame is not on the victim, the shame is on the perpetrator. Law and order and the court system is very outdated.
We have with us Tanushree Datta, and she has started a movement of sorts, that is the Me Too movement in India, and we'll talk about that and a lot more. Priya, having you first of all on board, Tanushree.
Thank you.
And so how does it feel that this entire movement has started within a span of 20 days since the time you came out with your story?
It's surprising because I never thought something like this is even possible in India with the kind of ecosystem that we live in, the kind of social construct that we live within, where crimes of sexual nature are always looked upon with a lot of shame and condemnation, and the victims very often are told to shut up and shrug things under the carpet rather than speaking out about it, and that is why it has become an epidemic. It's endemic in the system at any kind of workplace. It's not just Bollywood. Bollywood is just bringing out the issue in the forefront, but it is rampant everywhere, and that's why you see another movement that has started within the journalistic community, and other people from different fields are speaking up. So I never thought that a movement would even be possible. I was simply, I was brought to a situation where I was speaking my same old truth from 10 years ago. I was speaking up again. Right. So I was just doing my thing, and also I didn't come to India for that. I came for a holiday. And I was doing general interviews, and somebody asked me why the Me Too movement is not happened in India. And I had a ready answer. I said, because what happened to me 10 years ago has not been addressed. It hasn't been dealt with. It didn't come to any kind of justice or retribution, despite every measure being taken. So how can a movement happen in India where something like that is still fresh in public memory?
Okay, and so a lot of things are happening right now. There have been several names that have come out. The entire Vinta Nanda and the Alok Nath thing has come out, and Kailash Kher and Sonam Mahapatra thing has come out last night. And several have possibly been come out. Even in political sphere, there have been several big names. MJ Akbar has been repeatedly, his name is coming up. So when you see something of this sort, that just because of one entire truth that you had that came out, and after there's so many women, they are feeling emboldened, and National Commission of Women, they are taking steps. I think they're going to be meeting tomorrow, and I think a lot of people, they have been called up as well. Nana Patekar and all the Ganesh Acharya, they've been called up as well for inquiry. Do you feel it's a big step for more women to come forward?
Yes, of course, because when more people come forward, it creates a culture of responsibility. Because for the longest time in our country, one could believe that they could get away with harassment. Eve teasing was something that people were confident they would always get away with. And people had now started thinking that they could get away with abuse and rape as well. That is why you see this rape epidemic that is happening in our country. Gang rapes are happening left, right and center, because the system made people believe they could get away with it. A rapist and a gang rapist just doesn't become such all of a sudden. He's first an Eve teaser, then he goes on to harassment, then he goes on to molest, then he goes on to abuse, and then finally he turns out into a rapist or a gang rapist. First they do it alone, then they gang up, and so it is, we are creating such people. They have come from within us, they didn't drop from the sky. If they have come from within us, we all of us human beings, we are also somewhere responsible for creating the saints as well as these grave criminals. Why? And we cannot dissociate ourselves with how a person in the same society turns out to be. It is the silence and the complicity because of silence that is creating these people. You let a person get away with Eve teasing, they are going to become a molester and a harasser because they are being emboldened. So the whole thing that in our country girls are taught, the girls are taught to feel more ashamed, and these kind of men are not taught any shame. So why is it that the woman always has to go through shame if she's speaking up or if she's reporting or something? This is that culture, and the men don't feel shame, and that's why they get emboldened, and then things get worse and worse and worse. So I'm trying to change the narrative. The shame is not on the victim, the shame is on the perpetrator. Because they are the ones who are in violation of human free will. They are the ones who are in violation of all the laws of the universe,
Right.
that we are all supposed to, obey and be in obeisance of. Every religion, every spiritual system has taught us that. Our laws, the laws of our country, of our legal system, have been made in such a way. So they are the ones in violation. They are the ones to be ashamed. But this whole time, it's been opposite. When a person gets abused or harassed or teased or molested or raped and violated, they are the ones who are feeling the shame and condemnation. Why?
Okay, so now, you have this green card right now. You've also said that if anything of this sort happens, you just have to call up the police, and things will, even the justice system, the way it is, it's very, very speedy. Here, the biggest, many of the even the rape cases, they never get reported because the victims and the families, they're so paranoid that once they go into if they pass through the police and after that once they go to the court, the sort of questions that will be asked and the way they'll be bullied for that matter is something that maybe they're not ready for. And maybe that is the reason that the number of even something like a rape for that matter, it's so normalized in India. And
there are many reasons.
It's called the rape capital. Rape is the number one. It's become the number one in terms of women's safety, lack of women's safety.
You're right, you've raised a valid point, and I've been saying this, that there are many factors why we've come to this situation. First is the social construct. The social construct and the mindset, the conditioning and the programming of the mindset has been such. Little boys and little girls, we observe it. People observe it from childhood. We become who we become in our adulthood because of what we've observed growing up, right? So the social conditioning is always there, which always puts the onus on the girls to cover themselves up, always puts the onus on the girls to be careful. But I want to ask, what was the Nirbhaya rape victim doing that she deserved to get raped in that manner? She was covered up and she was being careful. She was with a male escort, as in like a male family person escorting her to wherever, she had to go. Male family member helping her rather. The second thing is the law and order system. The law and order system of our country is such that when matters go to court, they can take up to years and decades, and nobody wants to get into that spot, The Tariq pe Tariq, what we've heard in Hindi movies, is a classic example of what happens. It's like for any kind of crime. That means there is a drain on resources, there's a drain on financially, emotionally and psychologically also. A normal human being needs to have a normal life to function and move forward into the future, a steady job and a decent, family life. But if they have to, the sword of a court date is hanging on their head, they possibly cannot have a normal life. So victims also go through that and families go through that, and that's why a lot of victims and their families also tell them, oh, forget about, this court kachari ka chakkar. So our court and the law and order and the court system is very outdated. It has to be, you can put laws in place, but if there are people who tweak and twist those laws to their advantage, mostly the criminals have the, all these top-notch lawyers they'll hire because they have the money. And then these lawyers, conscienceless, completely conscienceless, will represent these kind of people and tweak the court system in such a way that justice will now be delayed, The laws are there, but if the court case goes on for a decade, what's the point of having a law like that? Then you cannot even expect justice from the court. Justice delayed is justice denied. So that's the second reason why they don't go, take the legal recourse. Many times they don't even want to report it because of this whole hostile attitude. Third thing is, when things go on for so long, it's very easy for a person with money and power to intimidate and harass a victim even further. So eventually, even if somebody is willing to put up a fight for that long, they are still not sure if they're going to get justice. By the end of it, most of the times people end up withdrawing their complaint because it just goes on forever.